gonna be here Friday. She's gonna be with me.
Say that.
Say it. Go ahead and say it.
She can do pictures for me.
You're working too fast.
I think we got one more minute. Yep. That clock creeps a little fast on us.
That's okay.
Hey, there's a $1
I got a list here. What's that? Do what? I hope not, Bill. Do what? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, folks, it's 7 o'clock this time. I will now call this a meeting to order. If everyone will please stand for a pledge of allegiance.
Get about this chair.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll have our moment of silence. Thank you. It's good to see everybody out here this evening. I like big crowds here because that means people are getting informed of what's going on. Some of you, I hope, are here because you want to be and you're not forced to be. Okay. First thing on the agenda is approval of our April agenda. Are there any corrections or changes to the March 8th minutes? I'm sorry, approval of the agenda you have before you. Any changes to the agenda as it is before? What we will do, all the personnel, which we have on number 7, Tammy, Cody has 2, Regina has 1, Melanie has 2 on 9. All those will be moved to closed session for personnel. And we do it, folks, because we don't want y'all to have to sit here and listen to us discuss personnel and stuff that's really not any interest to you whatsoever, but it is to us as a board as far as filling vacancies and positions. So we do that so it actually moves us along a lot quicker to go in, discuss it, come out, and do that. Any other additions or deletions to the agenda? No? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
Move.
All right. Motion to approve the agenda by Commissioner Rice. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gentry. The motion is made to approve the agenda with the changes of the personnel going into closed session. Second by Commissioner Gentry. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Motion passed. Now, approval of the March 8th, 2016 minutes. You have in your book the minutes. Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes?
Found one small typo.
Well, now, don't be hard on her.
Well,
No.
if these are going to be, if they're going to be published, I won't be good then. On page 2 of the minutes,
Okay.
Article 9, first paragraph, in reference to the appraisal.
Mhm.
Oh, that first sentence isn't proper.
It's
Grammatic,
missing.
not-
It's missing the letter A.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you'll see right there.
I think at actually is what you want to have
Yeah,
there.
it's missing the letter
the
A,
word at.
which the word at before the 85,000.
We would have liked to have a bigger number. Some of us.
Okay.
I'm worried about the number at the end, not the number at the beginning.
And that's why we're still doing this.
Any other corrections to the minutes? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
As amended.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Commissioner Gentry has made the motion to approve the minutes with the correction of the typo, and Commissioner Wechtel has seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Motion passed. No one has signed up for public comment, so we will move on. Number 3 is Ruth Price. If you would, come to the podium, please, and speak. If you need to move the microphone, please do.
Okay. I'm also here with Barbara Rice, who has put me in charge, I guess. First, I'm from the Land of Sky Regional Council. I'm what's called an Ombudsman, which is a Swedish word for resident advocate. So I advocate for people in long-term care facilities and go to the facilities in Madison County. And Barbara is chair of the volunteer group that goes and visits. And you all have appointed more volunteers than we've had in 3 years. And I just want to thank you so much for that. And they're wonderful volunteers. And Barbara has been just terrific at leading this group and getting them out to facilities. And I have here the annual report. I didn't get it in time, but I'll hand those out to you. But just to give you a summary, we have gone to all the facilities. The committee is required to go quarterly to the nursing homes and only once a year to the family care homes and assisted living, but they have gone much more than that to the family care homes because we've had a lot of concerns there. But they've been on it, and they've working very closely with DSS to be sure that those facilities are doing what they need to take care of those residents. So we aren't regulatory, but we advocate for people's rights, and we want to be sure that they have the same rights that any American citizen does. So that's what we're about. So thank you all for your support, and I'll give you this annual report that Barbara did, but I guess she's too shy. No.
No, Barbara's not shy.
Well, she's playing like it tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do, and we really appreciate working with Land of Sky.
Well, thank you.
They do a lot for Madison County and to assist us and help us.
We just feel it's important that these residents are monitored and do receive the things that are required because they are in Madison County.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Bruce Murray.
What's left of it?
Well, I haven't ever had the opportunity to speak before the county commission, and I appreciate this, and just want to make sure I understand the ground rules now. Y'all aren't going to be throwing anything, and I'm not allowed to throw anything, so we're all okay on this. No throwing, right?
Correct.
Good. Okay. Let me give you a quick report here. I want to give you an update on communities and schools and the funding that comes through the state, through you to the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. As you see, I've left a handout for y'all, but I want to tell the group at large that the mission of communities and schools is to surround students with a community of support, empowering them to stay in school and achieve in life. So the funding that comes to our group, we use that to pay personnel, salaries, and benefits. And we work at the high school and the middle school, and our program is called Madison Team Success. We work with approximately 115 total students at Madison Middle and Madison High School. 82 of these students are case managed. And case managed basically means that we are monitoring their attendance, their behavior, their academic progress to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. We work any student that has been in the court system. Of course, we are, they're in our program, and we're paying attention to helping them make sure that they're staying in school and doing what they need to be doing to graduate. One of the things that we do is we coordinate volunteers throughout the county and the school system. And we have approximately 30 volunteers this year. Adults, Mars Hill College, Bonner, Mars Hill University, Bonner students. Our program only serves Madison County students. The statistic that we like to talk about is last year, there were approximately 130 graduates from Madison High School. And of those 130 graduates, we had 25 of those students had been involved in communities and schools. And those students were in that program because they were a potential dropout at one point in time or another. So 25 of the 130 converts to approximately almost 20% of the graduating class had been involved in communities and schools. So we're pleased to know that the funding that we're getting, we're making a difference with what we're doing. I know that this is an opportunity for me to mention that the funding that you give us, your match is 20%. We certainly appreciate that, but as you go into these closed sessions, we don't know what you talk about in there, but I figure probably what y'all are talking about is you're sitting there going, what are we going to do with all this extra money we've got? Pretty much, I'm on 100%, right?
Absolutely.
I've never heard that in these places. Mary.
But if that day ever comes, when you're sitting there and you're thinking, what are we going to do with this extra money? Consider, again, if you have some extra money, individually or as a board, donate to communities and schools, because what better investment can we get a return on than investing in our students? Y'all have any questions? Comments or opposing views?
Well, I appreciate you coming and giving us this information. I was not aware of the percentages and the number of students that go through this program that you have.
Right. We are very active, and we're providing level 1, level 2 services at the high school at this time, and that is a state mandated item, and so we're providing that service for the high schools and making sure that we are Madison High School's in compliance.
Do any of these 25 students, did they go on to further their education?
I don't have that number. I do know that potentially they weren't going to graduate.
Right.
I know that.
Well, that's good.
So, any other questions?
Any more questions?
Thank you, Bruce.
No problem.
Thank you to all the people that work on this.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee Hoffman.
Good evening. I appreciate you all having me back. What I'm going to do is to present the resolution for your consideration in support of the Bailey Mountain project, and I suppose I'll just read this and everyone can be aware. This is very legalistic, so it doesn't really read that well. State of North Carolina, County of Madison, resolution. Whereas the County of Madison has the desire to protect its environmental and natural treasures, and whereas Bailey Mountain in the Mars Hill community is an environmental and cultural and historical treasure, and whereas Bailey Mountain Park, a 200-acre tract of conserved land on the southern slope of Bailey Mountain, offers educational and recreational experiences to residents and visitors, and whereas the adjoining Smith property, consisting of 89 plus or minus acres, is available for sale, and whereas the Smith property will expand the Bailey Mountain Park size, will protect the eastern slopes of the mountain, and will provide walking, hiking, and recreational access to the entire park, and whereas the citizens of Madison County and the Madison County Board of Commissioners value the creation of greenway trails and community parks as expressed in the 2015 Parks and Recreation Comprehensive Plan. And whereas the Board of Directors of the Richard L. Hoffman Foundation, the owners of the Bailey Mountain Park, have negotiated an option to purchase and contract on the Smith property and are actively engaged in fundraising efforts to support that purchase. Wherefore, the Madison County Board of Commissioners does hereby declare its support for the valuable park and project and request that citizens of the county and all charities and foundations interested in the protection of our environment to contribute to and participate in this outstanding project. So that is the resolution.
Forrest, did you have a chance to look over this with the attorney?
Looked over it. The attorney had it in his packet, but it's not really a
Issue.
binding legal issue. It's a resolution supporting the project that I'm imagining would be most helpful for grant applications that foundation.
Yeah, the way that we would use this would be to include it with applications for grants to private and public foundations, and also to say to the public in general that the county commission is behind the project and it legitimizes the project.
Any more discussion for Lee on this from the board? Questions? Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution presented to us?
So moved.
All right. I have a motion, Commissioner Gentry, to approve the resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Rice for the resolution. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay. Connie Harris. It's Connie Harris. Come on down.
Hello. I have a few things here tonight. The first is April is Child Abuse Prevention Month across the state, and our Social Services Board just today has signed a resolution to that effect. And I'm here before you asking for the Board of County Commissioners to sign a resolution. Of course, the Madison County Department of Social Services is the agency that is responsible and mandated by state law to provide protective services for abused and neglected children. And we're doing some things this month to promote this. We're working with some of the schools to do a pinball garden. And also, I've spoken on this topic on WART radio several times this month, just providing information to the public. So hopefully you have the resolution in front of you.
Yes. I think everyone has it in their book and time to look over it, read it. Any questions for Connie on this resolution? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution presented by Connie Harris?
So moved.
I have a motion to approve the resolution from Commissioner Rice. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Wechtel. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
Next, I have an MOA between Madison County DSS and Smoky Mountain LME MCO for our Work First Child Protective Services Substance Use Initiative. This is an annual MOA that we do with Smoky Mountain. And this provides for substance abuse assessment, referrals, and case coordination services for a number of our clients. Any Work First clients that we have in which there is concern that there are substance abuse issues are referred. Class H or Class I controlled substance felons who are applying for Work First or food and nutrition services are referred. And Child Protective Services clients with substance abuse issues are referred. RHA is the local provider that we use, and the Social Services Board approved the MOA at the meeting earlier today.
I've got a question. How are they screened?
Well, Work First clients, of which we do not have many, if the agency has knowledge that there are substance abuse issues, also, there's an assessment form that the client fills out when they're in the office. And if they indicate on that, or if they just give the worker information that they have substance abuse issues. Of course, if someone came into the office and was obviously under the influence of something, that would be another reason to make a referral. Our Child Protective Services clients, we have gathered information through our intervention with them that there are substance abuse issues, and they are referred. So there's a variety of things that we do.
There's no actual testing that's done of them though, correct?
Well, when we make the referral, the provider does the assessment. They do the testing and assessment and make a determination, and also give us recommendations as to what needs to happen and provide any treatment that's recommended.
Very good. Thank you.
Any more questions or discussion, Connie, on this? Do I hear a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement with Smoky Mountain Center?
So moved.
Okay. I have a motion to approve it by Commissioner Gentry. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Rice for the memorandum of agreement. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
And the final item that I have is our annual contract with the North Carolina Division of Services for the Blind. We contract with them each year to provide a social worker for the blind. We share that worker with Transylvania and Henderson County. And she is in our office on Tuesdays for about half a day each week. Meets with clients who are blind or visually impaired and provides services to them. She can also, if a client meeting that criteria is unable to get to the office, she can also go to their home and meet with them and provide services. And this is in our budget each year. It's in our current year's budget, and it's in our proposed budget for next fiscal year. The Social Services Board also has approved this at the meeting today.
How many blind people do we currently serve in the county?
It's a very small number. I think there are about 6 clients, but she constantly does. Anytime she gets a referral, she can meet with those folks, and she can also provide some other things for them, adaptive sort of items that they may need in order to see and go about their business.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions, comments from the board?
Is this like a regular employee that you don't need their approval for this? It's just a matter of being
Well, it's
formal?
a contract. It's money that we're paying out. It's not an actual county employee. So no,
Okay.
this is different.
Okay.
Contract service.
We're okaying basically the budget for this position for the county.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's in my current budget and next year's budget.
Do I hear a motion to approve the services for the blind contract?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Rice to approve the service for the blind contract. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gentry. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
I think just for informational purposes, I'd like to disclose to the folks in the room that the amount of county dollars that Connie is proposing here is $1,572.21. So it's a
very minimal amount.
Yeah, our share of her salary is mostly paid by the federal government and state. Our total, the total cost is $12,577.71 for our share. Well, for Madison County, but the actual county dollar cost is $1,572.21. So it's a rather small amount.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, Tammy and Cody, on yours, if you we'll take care of A, and then the other 2 will be. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'd like to talk with you tonight about our 2015 Community Health Assessment. I brought my copy with me. These are at the libraries and on our website. The community health assessment is a year-long process that produces a very detailed report. It provides direction for the planning of disease prevention and health promotion services, programs, and activities. The community health assessment is also referred to as the CHOD for short. We do this every 3 years. We just completed this one in 2015. So in 2016, we'll not be taking a break. We'll move forward with what's known as the CHIP, a Community Health Improvement Plan. And this year, the CHIP will involve looking at the details and the goals and the strategies to address the health priorities that we identify. Then next year, we'll do what's called a SOCH, that's a State of the County Health Report. And that is an abbreviated assessment that shows progress made on these priorities and identifies new and emerging health issues. To develop the community health assessment, we work with lots of community partners. There are a minimum of 40 of these individuals that work with us, representing various organizations and agencies and communities in the county. For 2015, the 3 priorities are healthy weight, mental health, and substance use. And to come to these priorities, there's a very labor-intensive, structured process that we start with many, and then we start narrowing it down over the year's time. So it isn't just whose favorite topic, it's a very structured process. Now that we have these priorities, we've developed action teams that are formed, and these action teams are going to look at how we address these issues. And that's part of our CHIP process for this year. Any questions about our 2015 Community Health Assessment?
That's pretty good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Regina Sanders. 8.
I'm just here to need a signature from previous grant of the 5311 grant in 2015 in November that was approved earlier by the commissioners in the North Carolina Department of Transportation. This is just a certification and assurances that wasn't released by the feds to the NCDOT and the transportation authorities, and they just released them, so we're just here for a signature on that.
Okay. This is the certification of equivalent service. Okay. Any questions, comments for Regina on this?
We're in compliance with all these areas.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to approve the certification of assurance for the transportation department?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gentry to approve the certification of assurance for the transportation department. Second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wechtel. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay. Thank you, Regina. Melanie, yours will be, you'll be closed session. Mr. Forrest Gilbert.
Okay, you have a substitute resolution for your consideration in your pack. Each of you were given one language spot when you arrived. The subject of which is the Connect NC bond monies that are set aside for AV Tech. That bond did pass on March 15th. And if you'll recall passing a resolution back, I believe, in February in support of that, there is $5.4 million set aside for AV Tech for building renovations, construction, that sort of thing. At the time you all adopted it, there was no set parameters on what would come to the Madison campus, but Chairman Brigman had been told that it would be upwards of $250,000, which I believe was based on our percentage of enrollment of the Asheville campus. Based on a number of things that I've heard from you all and from others for you to consider, Buncombe County passed the voters approved a 1/4 cent sales tax increase in 2011 to go toward building construction at AB Tech in Buncombe County, which makes sense that it would go to Buncombe County. At the time that was passed, that was to address the major foreseeable needs for construction that they had. Now that this bond has been passed, it's our understanding that there's a little bit of confusion about just how much money Madison County may get from this. Now, having looked at budget requests from past years and just some thoughts that I've heard in the community that are not to the stage of knowing what to do, but the stage of knowing something could be done. This building's 26 years old. There have been requests in the past for major repair and replacement to the HVAC system, looking at plumbing fixtures, just things that happen that need to be fixed with a building of this age. There's also, when we have talked with AB Tech officials about offering more courses here in Madison County, the lack of space has been one of their main reasons for not being able to do that. So this resolution looks at potentially asking for more money for Madison County. The other issue involved is the county's ability locally. You know, the counties are responsible for building maintenance and facilities for a community college. However, we are severely limited in our taxing ability here in our tax base. Buncombe County is 10 times our size, and their retail sales tax base is 49 times our size. There's no way we can ever bring in enough money to do that. We're currently funding ongoing maintenance, which is basically the maintenance employee here and custodial employee and other work that comes up routinely, $107,000 a year. That went down a little bit from last year, but the year before it had gone up from 88. So we've gone up about 20% in the last 2 years on what we provide. With the new sales tax money that's coming from the state that recognizes rural counties' difficulties in addressing these issues, with $750,000 coming to Madison County and a portion of that being set aside for construction, Madison County is really only now in a position to think about what we can do with local money for investing in our facility. So with all those things in mind, for your consideration is requesting a specific amount larger than our proportion of enrollment, because the reality is we will never be able to fund a building on our own. It's highly unlikely. So any questions you have, I'll be happy to answer.
I don't have any questions for us, but I do have some comments concerning this. Madison County did approve the bond. Also, the percentage of voters did approve it. So therefore, with that, you know, the ones that worked hard to get this approved, there were a lot of people in the county did. It did get approved, and I think that in order for us to get what is fair and a reasonable amount for the school here, I don't think that the resolution is asking for too much. I don't think it's out of bounds. I think it's within reason. Buncombe County is getting a large amount of money for this. They came to us the other night at our meeting, and the first figure that was given to us was $50,000 for this facility. With the amount of money they're getting, and then they come at us with $50,000, I felt like that was a small amount, and it was just like enough to try to pacify us so they can spend larger amounts elsewhere. And that's one reason that I would like to see this resolution be voted on and be approved tonight, because we need it here. There's a list of items here for the school. Just an example: gutters, the bathrooms need to be updated, the floors coming up out front where the water's coming through the windows, so that needs to be sealed up. We need to replace the old furnace. It's got a lot of wear on it. Windows, welding shop upgrade. All these things are to benefit the people here in the county and the students at Madison High, the early college, everybody that wants to come and enjoy the facility. It's to benefit them. And I hope that AB Tech in Asheville at the Buncombe campus understands why we do this, and I'm sure they will, but we're trying to do it for the betterment of the school and to get what is rightfully should be ours.
Mr. Chairman, I'd add to that nearly, I would venture a guess that everybody in this room spends a significant portion of their income in Buncombe County, just simply because we don't necessarily have all the services and products that are offered in our county that are offered in Buncombe County. And we didn't get a say in that 0.25%. sales tax increase.
That's right.
We pay it.
Mhm.
And in essence, it's taxation without representation.
Yeah.
When it comes to something like this.
Where did the $50,000 figure come from? Is that was that their figure? Was that our figure? Where did that come from, Forrest?
I believe from talking with board members that that was the administration's figure based on replacing gutters. And
Gutters?
Yeah.
Well, they made out of gold.
Copper.
I mean, $50,000. I read that in an earlier note. I mean, I don't know how many linear feet of gutter we have here, but I don't think any of us would spend $50,000 on our home for guttering. I mean, what's the deal here?
I don't know, wasn't it to me?
Well, the $50,000, they said guttering and other things. Well, Francis Ramsey and I and Mr. Briggs, Bruce Briggs, are on the board, and we didn't have this list in front of us. They were aware that there was a list from the school. We didn't have it. We really didn't know going into our meeting that it was even going to come up and that it was going to be presented to us until we got to the meeting. Then it was presented. So we did, with the help of Mandy Stone, she did make a motion to approve a resolution to take the money that was left over from the 5 projects listed, if any, and use it at the Madison campus. But that is if any's left over. Well, you know, we know that with an if any left over, that's kind of a passive way to do it. So with this resolution, it's going to just kind of verify that and back up the resolution that we passed on the board for that.
That's the equivalent of telling your child you'll think about it.
Yeah.
My 8-year-old has figured out that means no.
Yeah.
At this point. So I mean.
But that's one of the situations that I'm very proud of our Madison County representation on the board of Mr. Bruce Briggs and Francis Ramsey speaking up and really making this a serious issue instead of just saying, okay, we're going to take it, that we're fine with that, because this money is going to come in increments. This was the first wave, and they had a lot of expense for Buncombe County, millions of dollars. So $50,000 for this campus and millions of dollars for that campus, it seemed like it was really, you know, you're talking about 1%.
And we're providing, it's also Buncombe County in addition to AB Tech. We have provided, first of all, people from Buncombe County use this campus.
Yes.
Second of all, we have provided for a number of years our firing range out to landfill at no cost. The agreement being when theirs is open, we can use theirs. When Buncombe County finds a place to build an outdoor firing range, we'll get to use it.
Okay.
I don't know when that will happen, but AB Tech uses that, the Asheville Police Department, Buncombe County Sheriff's Office, and I think the region benefits from that. But this is a way to recognize that there are things Madison County is doing. Now, just for the audience, the $50,000 is what was said at the AB Tech board meeting. This resolution asks for at least $1 million for Madison County. And that's an at least amount. And I would think if you all adopt this, that meetings would start happening about what that could be. But there are a number of ways to look. I timed it yesterday. This building's about 11 minutes from I-26 in Weaverville. There's no reason for people not to be able to come out here and teach a course or take a class here.
Well, we as the Board of Commissioners passed the resolution in support of the bond, and therefore this resolution just backs up our support for the bond. Any more discussion?
Yeah, let me just add that this is a statewide bond. The money is intended to be spent statewide for every county from Madison to Mecklenburg. We are only asking for our fair share, and all of the points which have been made by everyone here. This is a very valuable asset to the community. This will provide us the opportunity to have additional space, renovate this building, provide more programs. And we, quite frankly, are not going to settle for $50,000. And this is a motion in that direction. And I don't think the community should settle for $50,000. My personal opinion.
That's a good opinion.
So will the Board of Trustees make that decision?
Every project that comes from the funds from the bond does come through the Board of Trustees, and they vote on it. They discuss it, they vote on it. When we voted the other day, there was 5 projects on the list, and we voted for all 5 projects at one time. There was one project on there that had to have bids because of the amount, but the rest of it was.
And how many trustees are there?
At the meeting, there was 12.
So there's 12 voting members,
Yeah.
and we have 3.
We have 3.
There are other ways things get done. And I would ask that if you all adopt this, I plan to send a copy to our legislative delegation as well as the governor's office, because I think all 3 of those folks intended these funds to be used in every county.
Yes.
Also, I think people who are sitting with 9 members of the 12-member board understand that someone could really push at some point to have a different allocation of membership. And there have been many controversial bills in the last 4 or 5 years and before where counties were completely changed in what proportion of representation they received. The legislature can overrule any of these things, but I doubt that that would be necessary.
Any more discussion? Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution presented for the support of the?
So second.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Rice for the resolution, a second by Commissioner Gentry. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
Next item is a document to approve a backup public safety answering point or backup PSAP, which is basically our 911 center. The state adopted legislation in 2014 that requires every county to have a backup in the event of an emergency. It has to be the equivalent of your EOC, which has, if y'all have been in there, has a lot of expensive equipment, a lot of phone lines. You may never use the thing if you set it up. It has to be set up outside of the, in our case, a 649 prefix. So at first, there was analysis of, setting it up in Hot Springs or Mars Hill and how to pay for that. And then I believe they refined legislation after a year or so and feedback from the state 911 board to allow counties to enter the agreements. So our very forward-thinking 911 director has been working with Yancey County's forward-thinking 911 director for probably about 2 years, and have reached an agreement for Madison and Yancey to serve as each other's backup. We each have the equipment in place. There's money budgeted, about $17,000 this year to pay for some of the minimal capital costs, which is basically just phone connections, that sort of thing. And this is the formal agreement for y'all to consider. Yancey County passed the resolution last night.
So Forrest, do we have 2 items here? We have the actual backup agreement and we have the resolution. Is that correct?
You have, yes, the backup agreement and the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, the resolution would authorize the chairman to execute the backup agreement.
Okay.
This is an interlocal agreement between 2 counties that requires, before it can be executed, there has to be a resolution adopted by the commissioners authorizing its execution. So basically you would vote on the resolution, and then if you adopt the resolution, then effectively that also allows you to sign the agreement.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Weckel to approve this resolution for the PSAP backup plan. Second by Commissioner Gentry. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise.
You have in your packet some updates on it with Chris Deaton, district engineer, as well as some staff from the Division 13 office about 2 weeks ago to discuss ongoing transportation projects or planned transportation projects in Madison County. Just some updates for you all and some issues that may arise in the future. One update, you all had approved last March applying for a grant to the Appalachian Regional Commission. Chairman Brigman had been involved some through his role with the RPO and MPO boards to work on a engineering survey to show what connecting Crossroads Parkway to exit 11 would cost. Once that number was available, we had some money to actually ask for from ARC. County approved applying for that. There was no match. We share a grant writer on that with the town of Mars Hill. She submitted it in the town of Mars Hill's name. No big deal because there's no match on it. As long as somebody gets the money, that's a good thing. I'm hearing that that's very close to final approval one way or the other. So we should know soon how that's going. US 2570 from the end of the current 4-lane at 251 and Brush Creek, basically. The former study area had been Mashburn Hill where that road comes in, and I requested they extend it on to Brush Creek for looking at future widening as traffic counts justify. It is very unlikely that project will score under the new scoring criteria that's been in place for about 2 years. It's all 90% of that is based on traffic data and traffic counts. It's difficult for other projects to score in that situation. So knowing that, we broke it up into some smaller issues that could be addressed. So one of those is the turn lane right out here in front of AB Tech, which is simply a restriping issue. Probably not as simple as we think, because when you start to look at it, you wonder just exactly how you want that curve to go. But they told me at the meeting that they're feeling pretty good about some information soon that they'll be able to stripe that so that there might be a left turn lane if you're coming down the hill into AB Tech, trying to deal with some of that. The other issue would require some widening on the other side of the bridge to have a turn lane at Long Branch. So that is being studied, and it's much more likely that those small projects are going to score better and be able to be addressed. And then they're looking, a longer term project will stay in there and score over time. And it scores against projects in our region, which is Madison, Buncombe, Henderson. Actually, it's our division, so it goes down to McDowell, Yancey, but it also goes far west, and they've done a number of things. It's very complicated, but everything, eventually we're competing against projects in Asheville, which makes it difficult, but we're also competing against projects in Mecklenburg County. So we're not going to be looking at any huge road projects anytime soon. But some things in Mars Hill, some notes there you can see. One of those is the widening and straightening of Bruce Road, which half of which was done several years ago. There were issues getting right of way on coming back toward Main Street this direction. Those issues may still be there, but even if they were resolved, the scoring formula would be very hard for that project to move forward, but it's still there. The road to Greenville has been on the tip for at least 10 years to just straighten some curves. Some of those had been widened a little bit several years ago, widened some shoulders. That is also, it scores very poorly. We have split that project in two to try to get some better scores, but again, that's very difficult with the amount of money DOT has to spend. That's going to bigger projects first. And then one that we continue to have on our priority list, which this board has never acted on, but it's been there for a number of years, is a road to Spring Creek, new route over through Little Pine. If these others didn't score well, you can imagine how that one's going to score. But it's still there. It does eat up some points, and there probably needs to be a discussion within the next year or so about how we look at all these projects in the new reality of funding that's available. And I guess it's not new reality on that project. It's
Is it possible for us to look at this Spring Creek connector and take that and look at that as a priority? Because of, number one, emergency, rescue, fire, school bus going that way. The amount of time that it would save is a lot. It's not, we're not talking about minutes. We're talking about, it could be as much as an hour or hour. And I, traveling over there back and forth, I think it would be really, really great if we could work on getting that done. There was $1 million spent over there on a road that went to nowhere. I don't understand why that was done. They could have took the $1 million and used it on this and made a difference. But I would like to see this somehow put to the state, to the governor, whoever, as a priority.
You could do that, you'd have to have a change in the scoring formula.
Yeah.
Because I've asked, I said, emergency response, school students. That's one of the, I understand why they changed the formula because it makes sense. There were projects in some of these areas that had been held up for too long. But the only way a rural area ever gets a road is to have their turn come around and have somebody get them that road, honestly. And they did a analysis when they were considering this formula of projects that were under construction at the time or had recently been finished to see what would have passed under the old system but not under the new one. The only project in the state that would not have passed under the new one, luckily it's been built, is 19 to Burnsville. It did not have the traffic count under the new system to be funded, but it was already finished and out of the way, so that's not an issue. But that just gives you a point. Much more traffic on that road than there is going to Spring Creek. I have asked about safety issues. I've also pointed out you get more points based on the cost of construction per mile, which automatically puts mountain counties at a disadvantage. There are a number of tweaks that could happen. They have been, I expect they will start to tweak some of that. The problem is that they have a number of roads and bridges that are all sort of aging out at the same time. And they have the same amount of money to pay for increasing costs throughout the state, and growing areas are going to eat up that money. So if you all want to explore that, you certainly can, but it's going to require a change at a higher level for how something like that is.
I think in the past, and we have some residents here from Spring Creek in the room with us, but in the past, I was told that there was a person who had property on the road on both sides and would not sign any agreement with the state to do any improvements to the road. And that's what I was told years ago. And now there's new owners on this property, and I talked to them, and they said they would sign. So
Well,
that's something that I would want to present to the state, that now some things have changed, and I think that it could be done.
But when Madison High School was built in the early 70s, there was promises made for all the county to get roads. All the county to get roads. And everybody in here, if you don't know it, I'm from Laurel, grew up in Gunnertown, and we got nothing. We got a little widening and so forth. We had somewhat of a pig trail from Marshall to Mars Hill called Highway 213. Highway 213 got widened, and that's fine. No offense to anyone from Mars Hill. I'm happy. I travel that road quite frequently. My family does. Spring Creek, that was a promise that was made and broken repeatedly in order to get the citizens to accept Madison High School. It was a promise that was made 50 years ago. 50 years ago, and here we still sit. I can remember my dad telling me, we're going to get a road, yada, yada, yada. We're going to go this way. There's going to be a road come in out at, it'll come in at the head of Burton Cove and Sodom and shoot over into Shelton Laurel, open that area up. And the problem is, And a lot of these communities, the people are my relatives, my family, people on Spring Creek and other areas of the county. Those folks are quiet. They don't say much. People in Mars Hill, if they got something on their mind, they talk about it. They say what's on their mind. And it's just not fair. It's not fair. I was the first graduating class to actually go to Madison High and graduate in 1975. And it's really a disgrace that we're sitting here tonight, almost 50 years later, still dealing with this. And everyone in this room who knows what I'm talking about, I think we need to put those decision makers, I think they're hiding behind their scoring system is what I think. I think we need to put those people on a school bus and the head of Spillcorn and the head of Spring Creek and let them ride out of there a few mornings. Let them ride back in the afternoon. I mean, I'm just sick. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of their scoring system and all this other stuff. We're never going to be able to compete with Charlotte and Raleigh and all these other places. And I know I'm kind of speaking to the choir here, but specifically even in our own county, two communities, Laurel and Spring Creek specifically, were basically left off the map. And y'all know I'm telling the truth. I'm not making this stuff up. It's the truth. So whatever we need to do as a commission to get that ball rolling, maybe we invite these people up. I mean, how many of them are they? 10, 20? The people that make the decisions about this. The Board of Transportation, is that who we're talking about?
No, it's the legislature.
Okay, bring them up here and we'll put them on buses and we'll let them ride in one morning. And then let them stay and go to school all day and then ride back that same direction. It's truly a disgrace. It's truly a disgrace that we're still talking about this today. And I'll hush. I've probably said too much already. Amen.
I have shared flaws with the formula at her request. Representative Preston was on a committee, and I think I sent those to you all, reviewing those, and I think she's heard them from other counties as well. The cost per mile being a negative impact, the fact that we're never going to compete on a travel vehicle usage basis, the fact that they have multimodal in there so that if you have a bike lane or something like that, you get more points. Again, harder to do here because that works against the construction cost, and that's more of an urban issue. And also the fact that a local match gets you more points. So again, we just talked about AV Tech and the fact that these bigger counties, Buncombe County threw in a match for their riverway down there. I don't know how much money to put into it, but they put a match in there, and we've seen how much money is going to that, and that got more local points in Buncombe County than I-26. So there are issues all about nobody is ever going to like a formula. Nobody is ever going to like politics playing a role in it. When we had some roads postponed and some never built because politics went a different way, but other counties got roads that they hadn't seen in years. So that's how it used to work. It still might work that way a little bit anyway, because that's how money is when people have it to give out. But it's a challenge for a county like us to keep up. I've shared those issues. I don't think she disagrees. Can keep you posted on how those things go. And if y'all want to do anything else, y'all just tell me what you want to do.
Well, I think we should send some sort of letter or something to the legislature, addressing this and addressing the seriousness of it and making them aware of where we're at with this, and we're not going to, we're really, like Commissioner Rice said, we're really tired of just nothing getting done. I want to do everything I can do to say I did everything I can do. If it don't get done, then we'll look at plan B, but we need to have a plan A to move forward and get some things done. And first thing I'd like to do, I don't care a bit to ride to Spring Creek and talk to the citizens and get signatures or do whatever it takes. to try to get something done.
Well, again, it isn't a 5-year broken promise. It's a 50-year broken promise. And, if people, if they don't have a heart and they don't have a conscience, and I know the people that's down there now were not the people that was down there 50 years, well, some of them may be. But anyway, we get a choice. We get a choice when it comes election time to get rid of some of these scoundrels. If they're not taking care of us, y'all do what you need to do. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, we have, if nobody's going to represent us, what are we supposed to do? I mean, what are we supposed to do up here in little old Madison County? What are we supposed to do? Thank you.
Lastly, I-26, the connector project, I understand they should be selecting a route this month or so, which will mean another public hearing and another round of public comment.
I took a bullet the last time.
Yes, you did. Bless you.
I'm sure once they
You did
come
a
out
good
with it,
job.
everybody's gonna just think, wow, this is the best route I've ever heard of, and let's get started. But that'll be coming soon.
Forrest, I know it's not on the list, but if we could at some point, I think there's a critical piece of road in Madison County that really is dangerous while we're talking about roads for a moment. The small stretch of Upper Brush Creek that goes particularly to Brush Creek Elementary School. I wish we could find a way to address that. That road is very heavily traveled and it does not even have a guardrail. And if a school bus were to topple, it would end up right on its top, right down in Brush Creek. The road is very narrow. A driver missed that by 6 inches, you can put a school bus off. And that piece of road is not very long. We know it has high traffic, very high traffic. And we own half of the right of way. One half of that could be re-engineered. And I really would like us to see to put that piece of road that goes by both of those schools, of which we're expanding one of them and they're going to be there forever and ever, and take a look at finding a way to, because every time I go to Brush Creek Elementary, I hold my breath. And I do not want us one morning to find out we have a bus or 2 cars in the creek there. And talking about fairly quick work to try to address possibly a guardrail on the upper part of that, which would not be a reach too far for immediate safety, and then to take a look at fixing that road permanently, because that serves a large number of people. I think any sort of reasonable traffic count, a reasonable look at that as a safety issue. And I'd like for us to consider pushing that piece of road. First, from a safety point of view, immediately, of things we can do, and then later on about repair and expanding that piece of road.
Okay. All right. A brief update on the budget. We're very early in that, where we're actually doing okay in our process on that, but we're clarifying some of the initial numbers, meeting with each of the departments. We've only got, really, we've been through all of them, and then we have 1 or 2 we're going to come back and talk more about. And you go through that process once, and when each time we put a number in wrong line, things like that, it can tweak everything. But I can tell you that in spite of county departments making significant cuts, most of them held the line. A few cut a few $1,000s. Some 1 or 2 cut $20 or more $1,000. We are seeing revenue projections from areas we can't control go down a little bit. And just with what came in, and that's with no pay increases, no new positions or anything, we're $200,000 or $300,000 off of what we need to be. Now, that happens, and there are ways to refine it. Just with who I've met with so far, we've cut about 50,000 more out. We'll keep working on that. And also, because we're starting early, our revenues won't be as clear. So that's another thing we have to keep in mind. In a month, we may see that our current year's tax collection rate, and I'm thinking it's possible, is going to be another % higher by the end of the year. we can make that decision in June based on where it is. But I think it's going to work out. But point is, we are not in much different situation than where we've been before because money's tight. Now, you say, why it's not just revenues going down, expenses go up on things we have contracts with. We agree when we sign contracts with these people to pay for their inflationary costs. And some things beyond our control, like some sentencing issues for juvenile youth where we have to pay for where they're housed, this additional $31,000. It's gone up this year. It's going to go up next year as well. The ambulance contract goes up every year, 2%. This year that'll be $21,000. The medical examiner fees increased $9,000 for about how many times we need it during a year. So a number of those things we're looking at. And by the time we meet with y'all at the end of the month, we'll hopefully have a better picture. But that does not include salary increases or the request from the school system. That's just holding them in line. They requested an additional $624,000. So that the money is just not going to fall from the air, I don't think, but we'll see. We'll keep holding out, but I just don't think it's going to happen. But that's the budget. We'll work through that, and departments are looking hard at what they can do, but y'all have a chance to get right in the middle of that soon. I should have a copy of where we are right now in the next week or so you can start to look at that before the meetings come up. Some general updates. The old jail, we did receive an upset bid for $73,550, which is the minimum initial upset. That triggered a 10-day re-advertisement for another upset if anyone is interested in making that. That expires at the end of this week. The next minimum upset is $77,277.50. And then if the upset again, it goes up another 5% essentially. From there, received a number of calls the day of the deadline, and people weren't going to submit at that time because it is somebody already had. So there's interest. But when you advertise 10 days at a time, a lot of interest actually. A lot of people have come and looked at it, and more than one person has said they plan to submit an upset bid. So that process could take some time, but it's going to get up there, I think.
Of course, what is our cost to, when we go through an upset bid, what is the cost to the county?
Simply publishing it in the paper, which is no more than $500 based on the size we have. I couldn't get the exact amount today, but much larger ads that we post cost us $500. So it's a couple $100 is my guess.
Okay.
Courthouse work is ongoing. Good news, but it also caused a delay. The engineer approved an alternative to reworking the boiler so that we wouldn't have to disconnect that and rework all the piping. That was going to estimate to cost $12,000. Took the engineer 2 or 3 weeks to come and look at it and sign off on the new plan. That saves us $12,000 in boiler work. It adds $4,000 in materials and the change order and labor that we have for the actual structural work that's going to take place. But that's still an $8,000 reduction over what we would have had to pay in that scenario. They are well underway with that, and I expect that you'll start to see the finished work start on the inside probably next week.
That's good. Well, where are we on the dollars?
I don't know. He hasn't billed us for based on his contract.
Okay.
But we will, based on the contract we have and based on the new numbers, we'll have $5,000 or so left over.
Good.
Because we were going to end up needing $2,000 or $3,000 just off memory from somewhere else, which we could have done, but this will give us a little extra.
Okay.
And that will give the clerk 3 rooms.
Yes, 3 rooms that he's never had before. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then some of the upstairs work for storage.
That's not included.
That's not included. Okay.
Well, the upstairs, the 3rd floor work that's complete
Right.
has already, yes, that was included initially. So we'll have done those rooms and they're finished.
And estimated completion date for those 3 rooms is?
sometime in May.
Okay.
School system received $500,000 in Golden Leaf funds for their STEM initiative. You all had approved signing off on that application. That was all it was writing a letter of support, but the county had to prioritize those. That was the number 2 project for the county. They had requested a little over $800,000. Don't know what all Golden Leaf cut out, but I do know from the school system's report that they're getting the Chromebooks for middle school students. And there were other things involved in that as well. I believe they're getting some of their machine work at the high school. And I haven't heard official work on Mars Hill, their sewer project, which was your number 1 priority, but I think that that may be there as well. And final thing, just to let you know, if you haven't already seen it, you probably will be seeing it soon. The Public School Forum in North Carolina does a ranking every year of local spending per student. And we have been ranked 92nd. And that number's out of 100 counties. That number was 2 years old. And then the commissioners 2 years ago had added $150,000 to the school's budget. That moved us up to 88. Part of it was additional money. Part of it was fewer students in the school system. It looks like, I don't know how to calculate the ADM exactly, but it roughly correlates to the number of students. So you'll be hearing more about that, but the main point of it is the top counties in that are all big counties or heavy, Avery County's one where you've got really high property there, and they're in the top 20, they're not in the top 10, but really high property values and not that many students really. The school age population isn't that big. The whole point of that report is to show the discrepancies in rural versus urban and low wealth counties in the state. It is not to shame counties for what they're able to do, though it may serve that purpose. The state, recognizing those discrepancies in the past, has included low wealth funding and small schools funding, which supplements that, and that brings us up. That would put us in 66th place. So Yancey County's ahead of us. Mitchell County's ahead of us. Every county around us is ahead of us. But again, we've talked about that sales tax. Yancey County gets $500,000 more in sales tax revenue. That's roughly how much more money they give to their schools. I'll have you a handout that shows what that's been historically, but I wanted you all to be aware that that's out there and have some information coming soon about it.
That's more reason for us. We need to really put a lot of emphasis on our economic development so we can increase that amount.
Yep.
First, I have one question. It's totally off topic, and we have not discussed this. I know we do drug screening for people who we are going to employ, correct?
Mm-hmm.
We do not do a random drug screen of our employees currently. Is that correct?
That's correct. Except at transportation and maybe 1 or 2 other isolated cases, but the state requires that for people who use the driver vans.
I would encourage this board, and whatever the format is, to do it. I personally feel we need to consider that in order to sort of get with the times, so to speak. Lots of companies do that. We're a $23, $25 million company. 80, 90 employees, whatever the number is. I haven't discussed it. I don't know how everybody else would feel about it. I just think it's something we need to consider. I don't know what the cost would be. I realize that's an issue, budget time and so forth, but just food for thought.
It's time to talk.
The cost would be it would be very costly because the county would have to join a consortium in order to do the random selections for the employees. Therefore, it would be, the consortium would pick, notify the county would send them, and the county would have to pay for the drug test. And then basically, Commissioner Rice has got a good point, and I see his point, but the expense here, you're sitting talking about our budget and how close we're going to be on our budget. That's something we can look at, but I don't know. Do other counties do it for us?
Some do, and particularly bigger ones do.
Oh, do
And when it comes to like size counties, I have to do some research.
Okay.
But we can research that cost and probably
Sure.
find that out relatively easy. And
Yeah, let's do that.
we can do that. And, you know, the budget is, just cause we spend something right now, doesn't mean we have to spend it next year. That's the bottom line.
Well, let's look into it. That'd be good. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Darlene.
You have your agenda books, the financial report for the month of March. And at this point in time, we should be about 75% expenses and revenues. If you look at your 2015 taxes, you can see that we've collected upwards of $230,000 at this time, as compared to last year at this time. Sales tax is up $67,000.
Where's that figure, darling?
2000, which one, the 2015 ad?
The 230, however many thousand you just said.
It's about 230,000. You take your 2015 year-to-date, and then you look at your 2014 year-to-date. Because that would have been the current tax at last year.
Okay, she's comparing that number to that number.
Because your 2014 would have been your current tax at last year. Sales tax is up $67,000 with 6 more months to collect that, even though there was only 3 months left in the fiscal year. We go 3 months past. Sheriff's Department's down, and that's due to mostly to federal tax. I mean, not federal tax, federal inmates, not getting as many.
Why is that, Darlene? Is that something that we have no control over?
Yes, I don't think we have control over that. They just send them to us as they have. I
It's
know
a
they
national
have-
problem.
Okay.
What happens when the jail is full? I mean, obviously, we can't, that's probably affecting it some too, based on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess if we have
Right.
our own people in there, you can. It's
Then we can't
64 bed, and I think he can hold up to 70 something, but it is 64 bed.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions on any of that?
Any questions on that?
Darlene, I had one question on page 2. I know we show the cooperative extension payment of $58,000. Where's the payment for the jail?
We've already paid that.
I know, but so when is this cooperative extension payment due? This month?
I think that one's in June.
Okay.
And I took the jail off, once we paid it, I took it off because, to show the balance. I think that might have been in February's report. In fact, I'm positive it was.
And that would be, because I noticed we have a debt service fund up here, number 2, of $203,000. I would assume that debt service fund, that is interest or what
No,
is
that's
that?
landfill money. That's landfill. At one point in time, there was money being set aside each year. There was money left over in the landfill. I'm not sure why it was called that, but that's the name of it. The payment for the jail comes out of your general fund.
Okay. Looking at these, the percent of the budget, Darlene, on these, on all the departments, do you feel that we're going to be okay, or is there some of them that we need to single out and look at as far as the percentage?
Well, you will see like, like crisis interventions at 95%,
Mhm.
but that's monies that, social services gets in the winter months, so we spend it out. So I would just have to take each one and look at them, but I don't see anything right off.
Okay.
That was alarming to me.
Okay.
Darlene, down there, the landfill fund,
Uh-huh.
the year-to-date numbers, starting with 1,469,000 and the four numbers thereafter. It's near the bottom in the middle on page 3.
On page. Oh, okay.
If you total that, that's 1,670,762, and that is true revenues year to date.
Your revenues, yes, your revenues are true today.
Okay, but if you turn the page, the expenses are 1,406,032. But if you turn the page, revenues to date on top of page 4 is 1,711,000.
Well,
There's about a $40,000
No.
discrepancy there. What's the deal?
well, because I only list your major things, but then, your major revenues and your major expenses on these reports. But when you come over here, this is what the true numbers are. Those are
On
true
page
for
4?
those, yes, those
Okay.
numbers are true for those lines. But you have like little small ones, I just don't list all of those.
Yeah.
But that's why.
The expenses matched right down to the penny.
Yeah, because I do those, because there's only like
Okay.
4 of those. The Force and I are looking at a different way of doing this to get all of them. Maybe several pages more on your report,
That'd be good.
but I always just look at your year to date,
Okay.
month to date, because those are the total things.
Okay.
And the invoices, we didn't have those this month.
You're the one that I left it out of.
Yeah, I've got it.
I had an
She didn't
extra
want you
one.
asking any questions.
I had an extra
It
one.
works.
It works.
I had an extra one. I didn't know
I made some
that.
notes I made some notes if you want to share.
I'm sure y'all got it under control.
I can give you that. It's over there. But I did have an extra. I just didn't realize who's left it out.
Darlene, shame on you.
I know.
Any questions or comments for Darlene on the invoices? None? Okay.
Next, you'll have budget amendment number 9. And, this is all increased revenues and expenses. For the library, it was an increase in, revenues, excuse me, from the Friends of the Madison County Library for the LSTA grant. In social services, it's increased funding from the state as well as in the health department. They have increased funds.
Darlene, do we know the status on our, I'm looking down at the bottom of our triple P. Do we know next year anything about that
I'm sorry, I don't.
as far as our budget?
I'm sure that Tammy.
We got that AA yesterday. That money has been increased slightly, but we'll have a regional approach. It won't just be Madison County, but that's 100% state funds.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Tammy, are we in good standing with Triple P?
We are.
Okay. Any more questions?
On your health department block there, Darlene, I just wanted to, because all the other ones add up and match. Well, that's what I'm asking. I'm not trying to pick on you here, but you've got your last 2 lines cancel each other out. But if you take up and add up all the other ones above that, you see what I'm talking about?
I have to check that, yes, and they should cancel each other. I have to check that one.
Okay.
Those come to-
I get a total of 8271 on all those line items, but then the offset's only 4950.
I'll check that and see. I've got the paperwork over there that backs it up.
Thank you.
Let's see what I'm saying there. Yeah, from here to here. Well, no, you wouldn't count that. gets up to account fee. Any questions or comments for Darlene on budget amendment 9? Do I hear a motion to approve budget amendment 9?
So moved.
I have a motion to approve budget amendment 9 by Commissioner Gentry. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Rice. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. You raise your right hand.
Probably a revenue code on this.
I'm good with it.
All right.
Okay, the next thing we have is the March refunds and releases. If there's any mistakes on that, that's not my work. Thank goodness.
Any questions or comments for Darlene on the property releases for April? The April meeting, it's actually March releases, I'm sorry. Do I hear a motion to approve the March tax release and refund? I have a motion by Commissioner Rice to approve the March tax release and refunds. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Gentry. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Motion passed.
The next item is the board vacancies and reappointments. There's a vacancy on the EMS Advisory Board and several on the Farmland Preservation Board. They have submitted applications. Some of these do not expire until June, but they want to go ahead and get everybody on board. I think in the vacant position, they're requesting that Stephen Robertson be added in that position.
To be added
In the
Farmland Preservation.
Okay, Stephen,
Robertson,
Rober,
TSON.
TSON.
We've got an application from him in the packet there.
Yeah, I can't read it.
Right.
The EMS Advisory Board, is there,
I don't have any.
we have no information on that for us or anything?
There's not been anyone recommended.
I would like to recommend somebody to that board.
Okay, hold on one second. I will now open the floor for nominations for the EMS Advisory Board.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend Norris Gentry. We have a nomination of Mr. Norris Gentry. Any more nominations for the EMS Advisory Board? At this time, I will close the nominations for the EMS Advisory Board. We have a nomination of Commissioner Norris Gentry for the EMS Advisory Board. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
I will recuse myself.
All those opposed? Okay.
I will recuse myself.
He knows something the rest of us don't know.
No,
Thank you.
I just recuse myself.
Commissioner Gentry, thank you for serving on this EMS Advisory Board. We hope that there's some big changes on our EMS here in the county and next year. Hopefully we can have a new facility and some things. All right, at this time, we're going to look at the Farmland Preservation Board. And what we will do, we will nominate the ones that we see there that you have, and also the vacant one with the name, and then we can just vote on all of them, okay?
Yeah.
At this time, I will open the floor for nominations for the Farmland Preservation Board.
Mr. Chairman, I would nominate David White.
Okay. I have a nomination of Mr. David White for the Farmland Preservation Board.
Mr. Chairman, I would nominate Ricky Reeves.
We have a nomination of Ricky Reeves. Any more?
Just read them off and vote on them. We've got them. There's no use to.
Well, we need a nomination.
Mr. Chairman,
please.
I would nominate Harold Hunter.
Okay,
I'll nominate Maurice McAllister.
okay, we have a nomination of Maurice McAllister. And
I will nominate Stephen Robertson.
we have a nomination of Stephen Robertson. Okay, that is nominations for David White, Ricky Reeves, Harold Hunter, Maurice McAllister, and Stephen Robertson. Any more nominations for the Farmland Preservation Board? Okay, at this time, I will close the nominations for the Farmland Preservation Board. These people will fill the vacant positions and stay on the board that are willing to serve. Do I hear a motion to approve these names for the Farmland Preservation Board?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gentry, second by Commissioner Rice for the approval of the Farmland Preservation Board. The names that were nominated, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
Forrest, can you, what is the term length for the EMS
I
advisory?
don't know.
Okay,
I think it's 3 years, but I don't do it anymore, so I don't know.
9 years.
10 years.
How many years you got left, Norris?
Well, we'll discuss that at a later date. Give me one
Thank you,
minute,
Melanie.
Darling, thank you.
Thanks, Darlene.
Before we go into closed session.
Okay, at this time, Commissioner Gentry has a little information to.
I'm passing out to the front table, and there are copies of this over here with the agenda. But the Madison County Career Center and AB Tech here are holding a county and regional job fair here on Friday from 10 until 3. We know of at least 30 different employers who have already signed up to attend. They are directly or indirectly connected to 2,000 job openings. We currently have in the Asheville MSA, Metropolitan Statistical Area, 4,500 vacant posted positions. Now, not everybody is coming, but we have a lot of the big players here, from Mission Hospital to our local players, Alltech out of Burnsville, to people throughout the region. So if you know anybody who's looking for a job or looking for a better job, tell them to come here this coming Friday, 10 until 3. There's no cost for anything. And if you know of any late employers, we do have a little room left to add a couple of others. We'll put some tables down the hall if anybody else would like to attend. So this is semi-annual, and it was very well attended 6 months ago. It's going to be better attended. There are a lot of opportunities for people to get particularly better jobs right now. So just encourage people to come by and take a look and see what's there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. At this time, do I hear a motion to go into closed session 143.318.11 for legal and personnel? I have a motion, Commissioner Rice, for closed session.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Wexler. All those in favor, raise your right hand. We are now in closed session.
Standard location. Bill, you take that candy. We'll have you score it for sure. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? Before we get through this, question.
Am I correct?
Oh, yeah. That's the only reason I'm sure, right?
Probably get somebody gifts.